Welcome to episode 237 of the Canadian Prepper Podcast. We are recording on April 28th, 2024. I'm Jeff. I'm your host for the evening, along with Pierre. So the two most important people are here. Everybody else decided to bail at the last minute. And Eric, being the computer tech, couldn't make his computer work. So I'm not sure what's going on there. I'm based in Central Ontario. I'm a target shooter, ham radio operator, general overall handyman, and weather nerd.
My name is Pierre. I'm a tactical beard owner, base t-shirt doing and laser engraving guy, government critique, and the reason we hit the explicit button for every show.
Excellent.
If you would like to support the show, buy some swag. We have both the Canadian Prepper Podcast t-shirt and the tactical Velcro patch at www.prepperpodcast.ca. All the proceeds help cover the cost of our podcast.
And if you're enjoying the show, please take a few minutes and submit a review wherever you may have found us. We want your feedback, even if it's bad. We also invite you to reach out to tell us something you've learned this week. You can email us at feedback@prepperpodcast.ca. So we're going to have some more sizzling content for you in this episode. We'll start off with some relevant news, update our personal preps, and then we'll get into the main topic, which is Kitchen No Power, Take 2. The only kind of really thing I've got in the news is there were a couple of tornadoes, serious tornadoes in the States the last couple of days, lots of damage. I'll get into it a bit more in my weather blurb.
Yeah, I have one from, I guess, last night / into this morning. One of the guys I work with was heading up to Pembroke to do some work, and giant detour, cop shut down, whatever. So there was a local hotel, motel, not even sure exactly which one. I think I found an article real quick, but I forgot to post it in the notes. Burnt down last night, like literally to nothing. No building structure down. Fire trucks pumping water. They got the giant reservoirs there. It can happen at home. It can happen when you travel. If you plan on even being in a hotel for just one night, planning your escape route, planning ahead, making sure you can get to the door, you've got everything you need. Maybe not keeping important documents inside your vehicle, but somewhere easy that you've got your bag by the door. Might not be a bad thing, because I'm sure that happened kind of out of the blue and can really take a turn for the worse real fast.
Yep. Absolutely. You never know what's going to happen. Stuff just comes out of the blue. So what we've done lately for preps. I did some food prep today. Went out to a meeting with the local prepper group. So Lisa, if you're listening, or if you decided to pop on, welcome. Thanks for joining the group and joining the stream tonight. Caroline, you bad girl, get your ham license. Stop dragging your feet. And Kevin, what? The organizer, and you don't even come? I'm hoping everything is good and it was just an oversight. Everything's fine. You never know what's going to happen. So I don't really want to diss you too bad, but you better have a good excuse, my friend.
Yeah. As for me, not too much. Had a crazy last week and a half, 2 weeks with work. A few things around the house, some extra work at the second job. I guess you could say, or Friday that we normally do catch up on a few things. We decided to go run some errands and buy a shed. So now we got to do, strip down the backyard where we want to put some gravel and everything. So hopefully that means we get to drive some equipment in the backyard, lay some gravel down. So that'll kind of help with some organizing skills and, well, not skills, but just get some stuff more organized. Hopefully have some bins more organized inside, as well as the stuff you don't really need, we can store outside. Make more room for the puppies and the family, a little more livable. So hopefully that'll work out for us.
Excellent. Well, with that being said, we'll step back into the main topic. As I mentioned, we're going to do a Kitchen No Power Take 2. So we started on this topic last week. It was a request or suggestion from somebody on the Discord. So if you're not on our Discord, please join up. There's a section for topic ideas. Anything you want us to talk about, plop it in there. We're always looking for great ideas. So yeah, we'll kind of, it may be a short one, but we'll kind of maybe cover a little bit of what we had done. Any more ideas? You have any questions? Throw them in the live chat. So kind of basically what we're getting at is we're not talking about a long-term grid down here. We're talking about, you know, you get home from work, you got no power, or you're already home, you're in the middle of cooking dinner or doing something, suddenly the power goes out. How do you finish the dinner? How do you make dinner? Good ideas. There's lots of different ways to do it. It all depends on your living situation, whether you're an urban or a rural. You know, some places like apartment buildings, condos, that they may not even allow barbecues out on your patios. So you've got to have a way to cook your food or warm stuff up. So I'll start off with a couple little things. I'm sure Pierre will jump in there and we'll kind of work through it. So good idea, especially if you're in one of those small apartments or whatever. And I mentioned it the last time, but it's a great thing. It's a propane or a butane style single burner stove or single burner appliance.
Oh, yeah.
They're fairly cheap. As I mentioned, Canadian Tire has them for $20.99. They go on a can of butane gas, just like that. Fires it. 3 cans for $8.99 at Canadian Tire. Not saying it's the best thing in the world, but if you need something, it's going to get you there. It's small, it's portable, it's lightweight. And
most of them come either in a hard case or a plastic bag that you can carry around and easily store somewhere. I know we've got one that comes in, like, well, we'll say a hard plastic case, like those polyurethane bins that if I dropped would probably shatter into 1,000 pieces, but it's got a handle. It's easy to put somewhere. I know if I look up and I see that handle, I can grab it and start something up.
Yep. Obviously, if you're lucky enough to be able to have a barbecue, obviously barbecues are great things. Just make sure that you've got your propane. Nice, good idea. Obviously, that we say 1 is none and 2 is 1. So make sure you've got a tank and a spare backup tank, because as we all know, when you really need it is when you're going to run out. So
yep.
The one thing I know that we didn't discuss that kind of hit me after the show last night was have some way to properly disinfect your prep surface. So if you are doing a meat, a fish, something like that, you're in the middle of like suggested, you're in the middle of something, you've started to work it, the power goes out. Now you don't maybe have running water if you're on a well or something like that. You've now prepared your food, but now you've got a contaminated prep surface basically. So have a way to disinfect that surface, some bleach or something else, especially if you're maybe gonna use that same cutting board for something else. Last thing you want is cross contamination and getting yourself sick. So on that, again, have a good backup source of water, of safe water. Get you through, a few days. We've said it before. We talk about it a lot. You can have all the food in the world you want, freeze-dried food, whatever. If you don't have any water to be able to make it back into food, it's not going to do you any good. So, and have a non-perishable, obviously you can foods, keep extras in your cupboard. Obviously a can opener or some other way to be able to open them, and don't be opening and closing your fridge all the time. It will let the cold out. Do it quick and whatever you can.
Yeah, like ideally, if you think it's going to be a long-term power outage, if you need anything from the fridge, freezer, I try and get into it within the first 15, 20 minutes of figuring out, is it just a flicker? Hydro is not going to get there for a few hours. If you ever think you need something out of the fridge that won't perish overnight or something like that, open up the fridge, come up with the game plan, get the flashlight, get those few items out of the fridge, put them in a cooler. Open up the freezer, put all your ice packs in there. Try and not open anything because the fridges and freezers will stay for what I think most of them are probably like 2 days if you don't open them. That at least nothing has gone bad. It might not be perfect, but like nothing's gone bad. But if I want a snack, so you open it up and grab a cucumber and the carrots. Then you close the fridge, and then you go back and you're like, oh, I want some more cucumber, and then now I got to look for the cheese, and I want deli meats because I want this. Like that time does rapidly go down quite a bit compared to whatever. So we can get into all that after as well. But yeah, just as Jeff mentioned, fridge, want to try and keep that closed as much as possible. If you need to eat, you need to eat, obviously, but getting little workarounds wouldn't be a bad thing.
Yep. And, if you have the ability to have a campfire or burn something outside, that's obvious. That's always an option. If you've got some way to make, or if you already have a grate or make a grate, you could try using some green wood. If you were in a desperate situation, it will eventually burn, but hopefully by the time it gets to that point where it's actually starting to burn through, you've already cooked your meal or warmed up what you need to warm up. Even in a circumstance of fire bans and stuff like that, most of them, unless you're in a really communist municipality, that you are allowed to have a fire, an outdoor fire for cooking. They may say we have a fire ban on, but as long as you can prove to them that it was cooking, then you're good to go.
Yeah, and by a fire for cooking doesn't mean you got 20 people over and you got a bonfire and you're just drinking beers. And if you're on like the 6th floor of an apartment, having a fire on the deck or balcony is probably not ideal either. We're probably talking somewhere where you actually have a backyard and you can kind of contain it and keep it at a moderate, size.
Oh, absolutely.
Justify,
yeah. You wouldn't want to put it on a balcony or do anything like that.
Yeah.
I don't cook with it. I have no idea how long it might last, but another thought I had was have a bag of charcoal.
Yeah.
You could make some kind of a small barbecue, maybe out of I don't know if tinfoil would work or something, but ad lib, make something small, throw some charcoal on there. It'll last for a long time. I don't know how long a bag would last. If it sat for a year, would it work? I honestly can't tell you. But
as long as you keep charcoal dry, don't get it wet or whatever. A good option for that is, if obviously not your fanciest new, the big pots you get in pots and pan sets.
Yep.
As if you could get stainless steel or cast iron at that point would probably be your best, but you could easily put some charcoal in that, start her up. Might have to keep some good air circulation, a small fan, or you might have to fan it, keep the fire from stoking out from old smoke or whatever, and just take your barbecue grate and put it on top. Even if you've got like a pan that's a little deep, like a 2.5 inch, 2-inch deep pan, put some charcoal on the bottom. You could do that with sticks, newspaper, get like fire going to get some ambers going. Like I said, it might be a bit of a pain because there's not much air movement compared to the vents in the barbecue. But I think it would be doable. So if you ever replace your pots and pans set, grab that one, throw it somewhere where you can't think of it. If you're going to keep it just for that, drill some holes in it. About halfway down, drill 5-6 holes, small little vent holes in it. Help keep the fire going. Would definitely do it. But if you are in a jam, you might need someone to help fan, get some good air circulation in it. But that could definitely work.
Yeah. So. Yep. Other things that we've talked about, proper kitchen items. So a good knife, good sharp knife. Don't cut yourself with it, and be careful.
Yeah.
But the mortar and a pestle to maybe to create or make some spices or other things. People have talked about a coffee grinder. Use it not just for coffee, maybe grind other things that might be there. As Pierre mentioned, pots and pans. Yeah, cast iron's great. I have a big cast iron one. The beauty of them is once you get it hot, it's hot for a long time.
Yeah,
Um, and so
keeps the heat for a very long time.
yeah, and they are very sturdy. And they're a good option for that wood fire. Obviously, don't want to grab the handle with your bare hand, but I wouldn't necessarily. And Gunny kind of put this in his notes. Unfortunately, he was having trouble getting on. Wouldn't recommend like your Teflon, that kind of style pans for a wood fire. They're too thin. You may damage the coating. They don't hold up well to that intense of a heat. So
that lining on the inside, if you get it too hot from an open flame or whatever, you're going to be eating that in your spaghetti sauce, your noodles, your rice. It'll peel that coating right off way faster than
that wouldn't be a recommended way to get some minerals in your diet. No,
definitely not.
Yeah.
So I've got, since we're talking about like different ways, I had mentioned, I think last time, about the little stoner, or no, not stoner, chafing dishes. So the little gels. They normally have them, if anybody who's been to a buffet, they've got those metal tins with boilers on them, and they've got little gel cans under them. So these are good for about 2 hours. They're pretty good. They pump out quite a bit of heat. You can get liquid ones and gel ones. I personally strongly recommend getting gel ones because I can do this with it and I'm not worried about anything. Where the liquid ones, you can get, as you pop it open, liquid could go everywhere, and then you try and start fire, and then you catch yourself on fire. So having one of these, or even a few of them, they are not expensive. Like National Grocers, which I think is called something else, you can order them on Amazon. You can almost find them anywhere. You can buy like 3 packs, 6 packs, 12 packs. They don't really have an expiration date. It's just gel.
I was gonna say, unless you don't open it and use it, they'll probably last.
Yeah.
They won't evaporate or anything because you haven't opened it. So
yeah, and the lid where my finger is, if for people that are watching live, like you pop that lid off, just light it with the lighter or anything, and then if you want to turn it off, say you're making yourself a coffee and it only takes 5 minutes, put the lid on, it chokes it out, and you're good to go for the next time. So they're definitely well worth it. They're nice and light. So I normally keep one in my go bag or in my bag when I decide to go for overnight hikes or whatever. Something to keep, make a tea, make a coffee, make a bag of rice or whatever. Another thing, if you're in those scenarios where you can't have a barbecue outside, I got one of these for Christmas about 2-3 years ago, and I have used it. So it's a little portable stove. You can use the Sterno cans like I just had, or you can actually make a fire in these. So it collapses pretty small into, I know I have the bag somewhere, I showed Jeffrey before. So it goes into a little bag. It wouldn't be much bigger than if you were to take, I wouldn't even say a new tablet, but the older tablets, they were kind of a little bulkier and not as big. So it folds down pretty thin. You can put a stick in there to make a fire. It comes with a little ash bin at the bottom. Comes with a grate. I've used it for Sterno cans while hunting many times, whether it was to burn up some molasses and brown sugar to see if the bears will come in, or make a coffee with a French press on it. It works fantastic.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
They're good.
And on that, I know I mentioned it. The those small one burner things, you can get them with propane. I would imagine if you're only using a burner and you're cooking dinner, you could probably cook for days and days and days before it would ever even think about running out of propane. So
these are fairly easy to buy and not forget, but just store somewhere. Or if your propane runs out, fairly easy. Or you don't want to start the barbecue just to try and boil a pot of water. Our barbecue is a 3-burner barbecue. Even if you only turn one on, it's going to take forever to get boiling water. Having something, room accommodating, what you're allowed to do and what you're allowed to have, something for, hey, we just need to boil water to make a coffee, or you're making a full out supper. Having more than one source, funds being available and room to store everything, definitely well worth it. I would use this to make coffee for me, or tea for the wife or the daughter not feeling well, something warm, hot chocolate. Turn on that Sterno can. We've got a little pot that'll hold enough to make a a cup of instant coffee or French press for me, and tea for both of them. Probably be boiling in 3-4 minutes. They're awesome.
Yep.
So we touched on propane. Make sure you've got a second one. If you're just getting into a place where you can have propane barbecue, and you're like, I'm going to be smart, I'm going to go buy 6 propane tanks. You're not wrong being smart on buying 6 propane tanks, but propane tanks have a stamp on them where eventually they need to be resealed or you need to buy new. So if you buy 6 all in 1 year and they're all stamped the same year, just know that I think it's 10 years, correct?
Yeah, it is 10 years. Yep.
Yeah, so 10 years from now, you're going to have no tanks.
Yep.
So would not be bad to buy 2, and then the following year buy 2, following year buy 2. So you've always got an overlap of, propane tanks are just hard to find. You don't like doing the exchange. I don't like doing the exchange. I prefer buying my tanks right out Costco. They come with a gauge on them with a fill up, less than like buying them anywhere else, and I get them filled. So I do that. If you're just doing the swap out tanks like everywhere, yeah, 100% go for it. But if you buy your own tanks, don't buy them all the same, or refrain from buying them all the same year is my recommendation, because you don't want to end up 6 years from now and funds may not be available to replenish all 6 tanks. But if you offset your years, you can plan to budget. Okay, well, next year I'll replace the 2 I had to replace this year, but I've still got 2 or 4 tanks that are still good for another year or 2. So you can kind of work that in the budget, or wait for that good sale, or for tanks to even come out for you to purchase. Would definitely be my recommendation.
Yep. And Denny in the live chat mentioned, which I failed to mention, but it was sort of something on my list. Those small 1 pound little propane canisters, you can buy an adapter and you can fill that from your 20 or 30 pound propane tank. Yep. So they say you're not supposed to fill them, but then they sell an adapter, and I know lots of people that do it. So it's a lot cheaper than buying 20 of a single one than just the adapter and being able to fill it up. So
yeah, and vice versa. If you buy those little barbecues that work on the 1 pounders, you can also buy the adapter that turns that 1 pounder adapter into your 20 pound adapter. Right, so vice versa. So you can also fill those 1 pounders with those adapters, yep. But you can also buy the hose that changes that 1 pound adapter into your regular 20 pounder. So like there's a dual purpose on those.
Okay.
As well, right? Like you're going camping and you're gonna walk it in. Nobody wants to walk in with a 20 pound tank full. But you get that adapter, you can fill up 1-2 of those small pounders, 1 pounders. Fairly easy to divvy up between 2-3 people, or just yourself. Bring a nice fresh one, something to hook up to, or other alteration or other means of it. But yeah, definitely that goes both ways. That little adapter that they recommend you don't use, but also the line that you can hook up from your regular propane tank to where those 1 pounders go is well worth it. I think they're like $20-$30. I mean, you'll save yourself the hassle, because those 1 pounders cost so much that you'll go through. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the better half in the live chat mentioned, which I didn't mention, and I will be the first to admit that I wouldn't know where to start right now, but making or having, if it's during daylight, some way of a solar cooker, whether you can use something that's reflective, use the sun to heat up whatever it is that
Yeah.
you're wanting to warm up. Um,
I have heard of it. The only thing I know how to cook with those are ants, and
mhm.
it's been a few years since I've done it. But it's definitely a thing I want to try. We haven't had the opportunity. I mean, I'm thinking maybe this year, hopefully, fingers crossed, we can get to it. At least testing it out, doing some research. Plywood, cardboard, tinfoil, saran wrap. What kind of plastic, and is it something easy we can keep, stored away in the corner and test out.
Yeah,
If you,
I've seen ones where basically it was like three panels,
yeah,
and like they fold up, so they're relatively small, and you fold them out, and somehow you get them lined
yeah,
up with the
get,
sun,
get,
and they
yeah,
actually
it's
get pretty
yeah,
hot. So
yeah, like they're making cookies, like burning cookies in a half hour. Like the heat intensity through them and everything is pretty cool. Yeah, so haven't tried it. I would definitely recommend, if that's gonna be your go-to, start testing it now. Um, we all know when something happens, you don't want to be the guy fumbling with all your stuff, can't figure out how to use it.
yep.
So
And the other
we've
thing
all
that,
we've all been there.
yeah, the other thing that just reminded me, we're talking about you're in the daylight, but what do you do if it's 9 o'clock at night
Yep.
or whatever, and it's dark? Not a bad idea to have some kind of a headlamp system. Last thing you
Yep.
want to be doing is trying to hold a flashlight or hold a light with one hand and chop something up or cut something with the other. Maybe a good
Yep.
idea to have some kind of a headlamp system.
Yep.
And
Or
it's dual purpose. I mean, you're going to
yeah.
be able to use it for being able to get around the house in the dark and find things, and
Yep.
so
Also an alternative, I guess you could say, to that is if you're going to be cooking outside, so it might not be ideal in the winter. Headlight inside, but those little solar panel motion activated lights, you can buy them almost anywhere. I think even the dollar store sells them now. We've got a set from I think, what's it called, Amazon. We bought like a 6 pack. They've been going for like 5 years. They light up the backyard like it's daylight. They
yeah,
took nothing. Yeah,
I had
exactly. So
exactly,
I've. Mhm.
yep. Somebody this was a while ago. They were talking, and they have just those solar lamps that line their driveway. They just pop in the ground. They're like, I don't know, $10 a piece, whatever. But he said, just take it off the stick, bring it in your house, and you
Yep.
have it's not very much light, but it's better than nothing.
Yeah.
So
And the ones I was like, I'm talking, those are fantastic. They can light up anything in your house enough for, even just at night, you can make your way to the bathroom without falling. But we had these little ones. They were, I want to say, like 4 inches wide by like 3 inches tall, and they lit up the backyard. Like we'd let them out with the dogs because where we used to live, the light was like on the front of the house, and we'd let the dogs in the back of the house. It was a weird thing, and we just had it on one of those. We had a On our deck there was a post that would have the clothesline, and we just put one right there, and it would light up the whole area. So those are good if you're gonna be outside. But if I wouldn't recommend having those in the house because I found them way too bright to do anything like that. But those other ones that light up the backyard would be awesome. Just having little lanterns through the house
yep.
for anything. You had
Um,
mentioned. Oh, go ahead.
nope. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying, you had mentioned earlier about being sanitary and trying to, you're cooking meat, whether it's fish, chicken, whatever. Not a bad idea. Go to your local Dollarama, Dollar Tree. They've got like 4 or 5 packs of the little flexible cutting boards. If you're only going to be out of power for a day or two, um, buy 1 or 2 packs, kind of keep them somewhere. If you're cooking something and you're unsure if you can get it sanitary, you can kind of, just rinse it off in the dirty water bin and put it aside and clean it when you get running water or something. But those cutting boards are so cheap. Uh, they're they're not going to withstand, years of abuse working in a kitchen. But just to get you out of those jams, they don't take much room in the cupboards. They're small. Just normally they're color coded for, like, whites for chicken. This is for this. This is for this. So use those. You can do whatever you can, but just having those as a backup in case you're unsure of something, you can just, put it aside and use another one.
Yep,
Way better and safer.
absolutely. And outside of that, I mean, I really like those gel things you were talking about.
Oh, they're
For
awesome.
multiple is even, there's nothing wrong. I know we talk about, your vehicle preparations and all that, and especially in the
Yeah.
winter, we're saying have candles in your truck for some warmth, or your vehicle if something happens. Well, why not have one of those? I mean, it's dual purpose. It's one thing, but you can use it for who knows how many
Yeah.
different applications.
Yeah, and the nice thing about the gel ones is they're gel. They're pretty durable. Like you can shake them when they start warming up, and it's a lot less awkward than having to explain the white stain on the carpet on the passenger side from when you knocked over the candle compared
Mhm.
to these in the vehicle, right? Yeah. So you're stuck on the side of the road and everything's good, but you're just like, man, I really want a coffee, and take out your little French. You can make something on the side of the road. You're stuck in traffic. This, that doesn't matter. You just need a break. No Timmy's in sight because all the power's out. You can make your own coffee. Yeah, those Sterno cans. I don't even remember how much we got these for. We've only got 3, 4 of them, but I do want to go pick up like a 12 pack, 24 pack at the stores. They're not complicated to get. My recommendation: get the gel ones. Not that you can get liquid ones. Liquid ones you got to be a little more careful with. If they crack open, all the fluid
Yeah.
comes out, you're kind of throwing your money away. The gel ones are nice. To be cautious with these because the can does get hot when you're using
Oh,
it.
does it?
So,
Okay.
oh yeah, the cans can get pretty hot. So you just stoke it out, leave it somewhere, let it cool down, and do whatever.
Yep. Cheryl Bender in the live chat said she thinks they're called sun ovens. That seems to make sense to me, but they can be a little bit pricey. If you've got time and this is maybe a way to test your preps. Geez, that would be a novel idea.
Yeah, I mean,
You know,
if someone else would have done that, they would have made sure
Yeah.
their fucking computer worked tonight, and they'd be joining us to discuss this. But we all know.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, maybe you can make something that you've got there for cheap. And, like I say, I've never done it. I should look into it, and I will look into it. Whether tinfoil would just, maybe covering a few pieces of wood with tinfoil, and whether that would work or not, I have to look at it. But, maybe that should be the podcast challenge, is look at a way to make a sun oven. But we can get there. And again, your better half said a Jetboil or a
Yes.
BioLite. So I was talking with the prepper group when I was there today, and one of the ladies, Caroline, actually the one that I harassed, she has a Jetboil, and
Yep.
I
Love
would
it.
have to look it up. I have no idea how it works, or is it? Do you know, Pierre? Is it something like? I know it's different, but is it something like a tankless water heater, sort of? Is that the idea of it?
No, so the Jetboils, I love them. I really want one. They can be pretty pricey. They're nice. They're compact. They're lightweight. So normally when you buy it, you can buy different sizes. So you can get one that's like, let's say a 10 ounce all the way up to like a 30 ounce. And it
Mhm.
comes with its Jetboil you buy similar to a Sterno can, right? A little can like this. And you have
Okay.
an adapter that you screw on it, and then you fold out the legs, and that's how you boil water. So you can light it. It's similar to a small propane tank, whether it be the Sterno or something. So it's got its own, proprietary can of fuel that you need to buy. You screw on, open up the valve, light it up. It works fantastic. They burn super hot, super quick,
So
very compact.
would it be something that you can use your gel stuff with,
No,
or does it come with its own
yeah, it comes with its
own
own stand.
only
So
can or
yeah,
whatever? Okay.
yeah. So the Jetboil, like when you buy the Jetboil, it comes with something that you put on their burner, which you could put on pretty much anything, right? Like the Sterno can with the right distance or whatever, you could definitely use it. But the Jetboil system, excuse me, normally comes with like this fancy adapter. You fold the legs out, and it goes on top of a Jetboil can of gas. Burn it, put this thing on, and you're eating a hot meal in no time. So
Okay,
it
gotcha.
can, yeah, and it's more of not a pots and pan set. So that would be good for the instant rice you can buy, like the chicken flavored or the wild rice or the mac and cheese. Add a bit of water, add the powder, add the rice. It'd probably cook that in like 2.5 minutes.
Okay, gotcha.
So it's really good for dehydrated or all those fancy meals you buy, like what's the company? I can't think of the names now.
Like
Um,
Mountain House, like the
yeah,
dehydrated kind of.
they'd be the jet boils are very popular for people that do that. Um, which wouldn't be bad to make coffee, things like that, but depending what you're doing, might not be the best idea. But it'll definitely get you out of a jam. As long as you've got a can of soup. You said canned goods earlier. Oh,
Yeah.
I haven't eaten yet. The power goes out. Oh, what am I gonna do? Okay, go get your beef stew, chunky soup. Put 2 cans in this thing, and yeah, you'd be eating a warm meal in no time. But it wouldn't be ideal if you're in the middle of making pasta and you've got the sauce going and the beef going and the noodles going, and then power goes out, nothing's ready. Jetboil would probably be a hard sell to try and get that going.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. So that's another option. It doesn't sound like it sounds to me like it's kind of one dimensional in terms of like water and boiling water. You wouldn't be
Yeah.
able to like take that off and plop a pan on it and cook something or whatever.
No, I mean, unless you're getting the pans like I've got right here. These are kits that I've gotten where like, the pan's not even the size of my head. Like you could probably cook eggs in there. But I wouldn't want to feed more than like one person.
right.
You could put this on. This is the little one, so I've got a pan that goes in here. I've got a boiler, and it all stacks together and goes in a small bag. So you could use this on a jet boil, but I wouldn't recommend putting your heavy duty cast iron pans on there. It seems a little flimsy, and I'll say flimsy just because the cast iron's so heavy. But like little pans like this, yeah, 100% it could work. We've
Okay.
also got a little pot, but again, like you're not going to make much pasta for many people in a pot this size. So
Right.
yeah,
Right.
so not a horrible idea, but I personally think that little metal thing. I think I got it for Christmas, but I'm pretty sure this thing that folds out is like 20, $30 on Amazon. Your sterno cans, you'd be way ahead compared to a jet boil. Jet boils are like almost $200 for like the nice big size one. They're a little on the pricey side, and they have a proprietary fuel for them. So it's not, you can do sterno, or I can make a fire, or I can put charcoal in this thing. Like, so you've got more options going other routes at a way more economical factor. But
Right.
jet boils are also fantastic, and I'm still going to get one at some point.
Yeah, Joel in the live chat says he has a jet boil, and he said they're great at efficiently boiling water. He does say there are cheaper alternatives with similar designs at Canadian Tire, Princess Auto, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I would say to that, I'm always a believer of you get what you pay for. If you want
Yeah.
something cheaper, chances are it's not going to be as good. It's not going to be as sturdy. It's not going to be as, maybe what you're going to buy is expensive. But my thing, kind of is I always find it's better, or I think it's cheaper to say buy something that costs $100 once than to buy something that costs $60 3 times.
100%.
Right? You're
I've done it many times. Try and save a few $100 on a piece of equipment, and now I'm sitting on something that cost me $1,000, and then I upgraded something that costs $1,200. Now I'm sitting on both, and one of them I don't like, and I'll never make my money back.
Yep.
Right.
And again, your significant other puts in there. There's again, I haven't looked at them for a while. I thought they were a little bit expensive. However, they're called a BioLite.
Yes.
And basically, if I'm not mistaken, it's a smaller sort of, it almost looks like a can. You can put grates, you can put whatever on the top of it. You feed it with sticks, so it's more of an outdoor thing. You don't want to be burning that in your house, but it it can also create the heat. So if anybody knows anything about thermoelectric heat, where you've got something hot, you've got a cold side, and it will generate electricity without an electric
Power.
source.
Yeah, yeah,
You see all
yeah,
those fans that sit on top of wood stoves and stuff like that. It's exactly what they are. It
yeah.
creates electricity by the difference in the temperature, and this that BioLite will do the same thing. You could charge a small stuff. You could charge a phone, maybe
Yeah.
a small tablet, something like that. It will create enough
Batteries.
heat.
Yeah, batteries
Yep,
for your flashlight because you can't find them. Like, yeah, lots. Yeah, they're pretty
yep.
cool. We have one. We bought we got a bigger one. It has a fan on it, so as it's running, you can turn the fan on, and it's pretty much a smokeless. Like, there's no smoke that comes out of this. Doesn't matter if you put a log in there, whatever. Yeah, they're pretty cool. Well worth looking into at least.
Right. Yeah.
And
Like I said, I looked into them a long time ago, and I probably should go back and look at them again. But there's another alternative that is more than just, so it's a multi-purpose. I like things, if I'm going to spend money, I like to spend money on things that I can do more than one thing with. So it's a multi-purpose. So yeah, I can heat something up. I can charge my phone. Um, I
yeah,
think
you can
I
cook.
think the one I seen that was more of the what they call the ultimate package also had I think it was just a USB plug on it, but it came with a rope light, so you could hang a rope light up like through a couple of trees or something, and actually have a little bit of light.
Nice.
So
The one we got actually came with a cast iron insert for where the heat comes out. That fits perfectly in the grooves. Um, like, you can take the grill off, and we could cook eggs and bacon on this thing as long as you have it level. Like, your eggs and bacon grease wouldn't run everywhere. So, like, yeah, I mean, the BioLites. I'll say the same thing as having those jet boils. You do kind of pay for the name. They have more than one purpose. I'm sure you can find a little fire pit or something, excuse me, that you could easily make a fire and cook. Cast iron pan at Canadian Tire when they go on sale. Like, what's a frying pan? Like $10. Um, and you could probably make something in your backyard. So this one we can take places, and you can have, you don't want a big fire, but you want a bit of heat. It's just, you and someone else sitting in the backyard. You want to make the big fire pit, log all the stuff, and put a little log in this thing, and it lasts a little bit. Keep a little bit of heat, keep the bugs away. Yeah, they've got way more than one purpose. But funds available where you live are all things you need to consider for this.
exactly, and
Yeah,
I like, even though you said it's bigger, it's still small. It's small
yeah,
enough that you
yeah,
can
100%.
carry it around.
Yeah,
Again, if you're somewhere that, like in an apartment, in a condo, that kind of thing, they're becoming a much more, yeah, we're building houses, but a lot of places that's where you're stuck living, and you've you know you've got to be able to make do with what you've
yeah,
got, because I mean, it's going to suck to be 30 floors up and the
yeah.
power's out and the elevator's not working, and the
Uber
last thing
Eats
you want to
won't
be
walk
doing
30
is
stairs.
walking up and down the stairs just because
Yeah,
you're doing that. So
yeah.
um Joel again in the live chat says he recently got a solo stove Mesa XL from Costco to use in the backyard. Never heard of it.
Nope.
Uh,
I
I've
don't
heard
know
of
if that's just a thing. Like, yeah, maybe we could Google that. But
yeah, I'll
talking
put
about
you.
that, yeah, okay. So Costco, fantastic. One of those things where, like, you see it, you try and buy it right off the get go. I'm pretty sure I mentioned it last week when we were talking about it. Um, we had a Camp Chef 2 burner oven. So this is not ideal for, like, oh, I'm gonna go camping and I want to do a chicken. This thing weighs quite a bit, and don't really want to lug it around. But I could easily pop this on. It takes 1 pound propane tanks, but
Mhm.
you buy the adapter. I put a propane tank on it. I've got 2 burners on top. Uh, it works like a rocket. We were boiling water, I think, from the time of making, we call it the poor man's spaghetti, just some, tomato soup and pasta and ground beef. I think we were eating in like 10 minutes. This thing worked awesome. It's got a stove. It was, I want to say $230. So not crazy expensive, but enough that you got to have somewhere to go, somewhere to keep it. It's bulky, but that thing is way worth it for us. We love cooking. We'll cook outside as
Yep.
much as possible, right? Like, why
So
why have the AC going?
I'm quickly looking at it here. Yeah, they've got a pizza oven. Part of it, it's wood burning, so obviously you wouldn't be able to do it inside. But
Not with that
look,
attitude.
look at this. Is my thing. So look at say a drum out of a washing machine and shrink it down to a small. That's what it looks like. So it looks like a small,
Oh yeah,
sort of drum type. You feed it with sticks, and but it looks very safe, and yeah, that would be something to look at, especially if Costco has them on sale. You can get them in different colors. You can get. I'm looking at a picture that you can put an adapter on the top that will allow you to put a pan or
Yep.
something on the top, and yeah,
there you go.
that's fairly impressive.
Yeah, nice.
Mhm.
I mean, not mobile, but if you like having fire pits or fires in the backyard and curious about having to cook on it, might as well, for sure.
Right. Yep.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah, great ideas from the live chat. Thanks, Joel and Melissa and those others who've piped in. Joel again says the Jetboil Genesis is a 2-burner stove, folds together, really portable. So again, something to look at.
Nice.
Excellent. Lots of good ideas. That's what we need.
Yeah.
We're looking for.
Yeah. Another alternative to, if you're ever, depending what you're cooking, you've got a barbecue, you can do whatever. You don't want to use your pots and pans outside, or at least let's just say pans in this scenario. You can buy cast iron grill tops to put on your barbecue to cook eggs, bacon, sausage. I don't know what else you'll use in a pan. Sear some meat. You're making a stir fry. I'm sure you've seen them, Jeff. They're 12 by 12, just the cast irons. You can flip them. Normally they got a grill on one side and they're flat on the other.
Yep.
You've got a little grease trap in the front. Even just buying one of those and throwing it in the bottom of your barbecue, keeping an eye on it from time to time, make sure it doesn't rust to complete garbage, that when you want to cook it, you got to spend 6 hours seasoning it. Season it, throwing it into your monthly routine of taking it out, checking it, getting all that rust off, re-season it, throw it on your barbecue, bring it inside, throw it in your oven to season it.
Yep.
Would not be a bad idea. A good alternative to, having to keep pots and pans everywhere, or you just bought a set for your first set of pots and pans that aren't from who knows where, and all the other ones are garbage. Fairly cheap alternative. I think they only go for, I want to say $30 to $50. It's been a long time. Most of our stuff has come with them already. Our burner stoves, our 3-burner setup that runs on propane as well. They all came with them, so I can't say I've actually checked into it. But
And
another.
I like another idea Melissa threw in there, which is something I never thought of, which to me is a great thing. She says make pancakes. Yeah, have pancake mix on hand, right?
Yeah.
It's. I was gonna say it won't go bad. It probably will eventually, but what do you need to make a pancake? Pancake mix
Water.
and water, right?
Yeah. If you buy, you get the water one.
And to make pancakes, you don't have to have. It doesn't have to be hot enough to boil water or do something like that. Just enough to give you a nice brown on the edge of your pancakes, and off you go.
Even if it takes you 3 minutes a pancake compared to a minute inside. Pancakes are normally comfort food, especially if you got kids. They love pancakes. Put some maple syrup on it. Even the no-name syrup, they love it. good alternative. It's nice and it's fairly filling, right? All the carbs and everything in it.
Yep.
Make a nice heavy meal at least.
And shout out to Robert Lane on the live chat too. He said, "I just made a cup of coffee with my Jetboil and a French press. Did it while watching this. Only took a couple of minutes."
Yeah.
So there you go. You
Yeah.
know, easy peasy.
Yeah.
I like that. I'm definitely going to be taking a good look at one of those. So
Oh yeah, they're fantastic. It's been on my wish list for a while.
Yeah.
They're a little on the pricey side, but Mel mentioned propane fridges. They're not cheap,
no, and
but if you know someone who's getting rid of a camper and it works, it's not that hard to take it out, put some casing around it, and keep it in the garage or whatever. Or if you know someone that's got one and you can get a good deal, propane fridge is not a bad idea, especially depending where you live.
if you've got the infrastructure already there, you've got the propane run into your house or whatever, and you've got absolutely. Yeah, I debated, and I'm still debating at some point if I ever remodel my house that I would go full propane, but it's they're not cheap for sure. But like you said, if somebody's got an old camper that they're going to throw out, but their fridge still works, pull it out, build a box or build a way to put it in there, insulate it, stick it in there in an emergency. Just way you go.
And it looks like you can actually get them on Amazon for fairly cheap, but maybe not replace your fridge with one, but have a small one. Like, the power is going to be out for a few days. All right, get the flashlight. You get the kid, come up with the plan. All right, let's get the eggs. Blueberries, strawberries, raspberry. All the things you're going to eat. Open up the fridge real quick, take those things out, and then put them in either that or invest in a very, very good cooler.
Yep.
Always have ice packs galore in your freezer. Power goes out, you're questioning it. Ideally winter, just keep it somewhere where, hopefully the rodents stay away. You can put your chicken, everything in the backyard in a bin, just throw it in your shed where someone can't get in. It's -20 all night. But in the summer, a really, really good cooler, put some ice packs, put your food, some more ice packs, bags of ice, whatever you need to. And then same rule, not rule, but guidelines of the fridge, right? Open it as little as possible and be as efficient with it. Can also make a world of difference of keeping your food nice and healthy. So get a good one.
Yep. Okay. Well, that being said, anything else from anybody in the live chat? Any thoughts, ideas? Anything, Pierre, you think we haven't kind of covered to kind of try and get people through a bit of a power outage, have something warm to eat on the table for a day or two at the most? And we're not, like I said, we're not talking about a massive grid down situation. We're just talking about, what? You've had a serious storm go through, and your power's out for 2 days, or you've had that blizzard and your power goes out. That's kind of what we're here for, and giving people lots of ideas. And so, we at least I feel we plant the seed. It's up to you to grow the plant.
Idea. Yeah.
We'll give you the ideas. We'll give you thoughts. We'll throw things in your head. What you want to do with it is up to you. Hopefully we give you some really good ideas, and that, somebody might come back after the show and say, you know what, I went out and I bought one of those Jetboils, or I went out and I bought a BioLite stove or something like that. If you do that, let us know. Feedback at prepperpodcast.ca. Give us, let us know that what we're doing is helping and giving people ideas and thoughts. And there's always new people coming in, and they get overwhelmed, and where do I start? What do I do? How do I?
Yeah.
So,
how do I spend my next 20 paychecks in the next 2 weeks? And I mean, send the feedback if there's just something that for some reason we were all oblivious and didn't even think about. That would be, your first go to, and we haven't even mentioned or thought of, because we're not all experts. We're just wannabes that enjoy doing this on Sunday nights. So for all you know,
Yeah,
you've got some stuff that we don't know, and we'd love to learn as well.
absolutely. Well, with that, shall we move on to the podcast challenge? So that is to have or figure out one way to cook, warm your food when you don't have power.
And to test it and make sure it works prior to not having any power, not being able to eat.
True. Yep.
This.
So upcoming events, Terry is not here, but again, the annual preppers meet is coming up. I don't have the dates because I didn't write it down on here. They have moved the event to Everett, Ontario, which is just on the outskirts of Alliston. Anybody knows where that is? If you were paying attention to the news, the Premier and the Prime Minister and all that were at Honda in Alliston the other day, whooping up battery-powered cars again. Yeehaw. So it's not far from there. It's close to the GTA. Go onto the Annual Preppers Meet website. Information is on there. It's updated frequently. I know Terry's on there frequently doing his updates and stuff like that. So, the upcoming event I have is very much related to that. It's actually at the same location, just outside of Alliston and Everett, and it's a beginner's guide to herbalism. Yeah, say that 3 times fast.
Herbalism.
Yeah.
I live with Mel.
It's coming up Saturday, June 1st, 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. It's going to be on their website. They're talking, it's just a general beginner's guide to plants and herbs and stuff like that for wound management and like kind of things like that. So I'm going to go. I plan on going unless something changes. Nice. It's free. It's from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. They actually provide a small lunch for free. So
if you can find it.
Yeah. So I don't have anything else for upcoming events. So I'll quick dive into my weather blurb quickly. So as I mentioned last week, I was concerned about a multi-day severe weather outbreak coming in the United States, and sadly, it happened. Friday evening, up in the Iowa area, they got a couple of tornadoes, but the real bad stuff happened last night. Took much longer to develop. At one point, I was thinking it was just going to be an absolute bust. And then probably about 9 o'clock ish, things just exploded. In Oklahoma, they got it really, really bad. Just on the outskirts of Oklahoma City. So places Ardmore, Dixon, Sulphur, they got demolished by several storms, and what it was is it was a very unique situation that turned really bad. So I'll nerd out on this for a couple of minutes, but a lot of times if you look on your radar and you see a storm coming, you see a big line of storms. So you've got, some people call it a squall line. It's also known as a QLCS, which is a quasi-linear convective system. That's what that big line of storms is. They can be bad. They can generate tornadoes, but for the most part, they're weak tornadoes, the F0s, the F1s, because all of these storms in this big line are fighting for all of the energy. It would be like dropping down a bunch of chocolate on Easter or something and letting the kids go crazy on it, and they're all piling on and taking it. But what happened in this situation is out in front of that squall line, where all of the unstable air is, where all of that energy is, you get what's called a discrete supercell. Supercell thunderstorms pop up. They pop up very quickly. You can look at 1 minute on a radar, and there's a little blip of something that might look like a storm, and you'll go back 10 minutes later, and it's a rotating mesoscale thunderstorm. And basically, what happened is those, and they're the ones that out in the end like that, where they don't hit anything. There's nothing there they don't have to share the energy with another storm. So they get big, that's what gets your really big thunderstorms, your large wedge tornadoes, your large wedge tornadoes. Those are your EF3s, your EF4s. And I was obviously watching them, and they were what they call wedging out, which is basically your tornado starts small, almost like an ice cream cone, and you cut half the bottom of the ice cream cone off, and you're left with a wide wedge on the ground. One of those storms they figured was somewhere between 1 and 1.5 miles wide. So, but what happened was these supercells kept developing, but they just followed each other. So about every half an hour, you were getting another storm exactly along the same path. So these small towns, they got hit again and again and again by multiple tornadoes, not from the same storm, from different storms that just followed each other like a conga line. I don't mean to when I say that it was an odd kind of weird thing to see, and lots of people got hurt, and hundreds of people lost their homes. So far, there's been 4 confirmed fatalities. We feel for them. But for me, looking at that, it's kind of like, wow, I haven't seen that. That's something I've heard about it. I've just never seen it happening. It wasn't something that was out there. And so my thoughts are with everybody there. There are more storms kicking off right now tonight, Texas, Arkansas. I don't believe there's going to be an outbreak like we had last night. Of course, the problem with that is when I say night, it's dark. So the tornadoes are nocturnal. You can't just open your window, look out, and see one coming, 2 miles away.
They don't go to bed like you. They keep going. No.
Yep. And they kept going for hours and hours and hours. And by the time, and the other thing that of course made things even worse is as the storms kept going through, what are they doing? Well, they're raining and they're raining and they're raining. And then you get the QLCS line that comes in, and it's just all a bunch of heavy rain. And so not only did they get the tornadoes that got them, they got hours and hours and hours of torrential rain that literally they had flash flood warnings out. There were some spots that rescuers couldn't get to because there was just so much water. They just couldn't get through there. And so the only other thing I'll say is, and I'm going to take a pretty hard shot at the National Weather Service. And this is odd for me. The National Weather Service are very, very good at what they do. They're good at predicting. They're good at, but I really think they dropped the ball on this one. And the reason I'll say that, to be short, is there's 4 warning levels of a tornado. So you have a watch, which basically says the environment's there for the development of these storms that could produce tornadoes. So you have a watch. Then you get a warning. The warning is, hey, that storm has developed. It's got upper level rotation. It looks like it might produce a thunderstorm. You need to be warned. We're warning you that there could be a tornado come out of this. Then they have what's called a PDS warning. So it's a particularly dangerous situation. That's when, you know what, the tornado's on the ground. They've confirmed it's on the ground. You're getting debris signatures on the radar. So, when tornadoes break things like buildings and trees and stuff like that, it sucks all that stuff up into the air, sometimes thousands of feet into the air. And the radar is going around and it says, wait a minute, I've got something here that I don't recognize or shouldn't be there. And it literally looks like a ball on the radar of funny different colors and everything. And it's a debris ball. And that's a great way to know, hey, something's on the ground. Something's happening here. There's all this stuff in the air that shouldn't be there. Like I said, like shingles and all that stuff. And then the highest level is a tornado emergency. And the tornado emergency basically is this thing's on the ground. It's huge. It's destructive. It's killing people. And these tornadoes were going on and they were doing that. And the National Weather Service office in Norman, Oklahoma never issued a tornado emergency. They never come out and said, this is really, really, really bad. They had a bunch of PDSs, but they never came out with a tornado emergency. And of all of the times that I've seen these storms and this is the first time that I've ever seen them like that. And they never issued a tornado emergency. It was bad. They really dropped the ball on this. If you are in that area, I'd be complaining. They would get sick of me and my phone calls because they probably cost some lives that night because they, for whatever reason, would not issue that tornado emergency. So I'm pretty disappointed in them.
Yeah, that the pictures and everything in the chat that was going and everything, that was kind of crazy. That it was pretty crazy. But Mel inquired, like, what do you have links for the Stormwatch stuff you use, or do you just use the weather app? Like, is there anything specific in case people like to start picking up?
Yeah, so I follow several storm chasers. A lot of them have their own YouTube pages in that. There's there's guys like Reed Timmer. He's a bit on the wild side. I don't follow him that much. You've got guys like Brandon Kopic and Vince Welty and there's one guy in there, Ryan Hall Y'all is his name. He's in Kentucky, but he's got a fairly significant group of storm chasers. So they've got live cams. They're out there. I follow him a lot for stuff in the States. So yeah, I'm kind of picking and choosing and getting my information from multiple sources, because when you're just getting them from one, could it be sided a little bit one way or the other? But they like Thursday night, I just before it got to, I was watching them and like literally they're driving up Interstate 80 and there's a huge wedge just going right by them and they're like a half a mile away. And I'm thinking like, you guys are nuts. I wouldn't be within a half a mile of that thing. But there's been a lot of them out there. But again, if it's something that interests you, do your research, learn who's good, who's bad. There's one of the guys who's probably, I would say, in about my top 3 or 4 storm chasers is Brad Arnold. And they call him the tornado sniffer, because if there's a tornado anywhere, he's going to find it. He'll just be driving down the dirt road and he's like, oh, there it is right over there. And so, but you know what, to be able to chase like that, that takes years and years of practice, of reading radars and stuff like that. And even doing that, the potential is still there that they're not going to walk away from it. The biggest example of that is the El Reno tornado. One of the best storm chasers ever, Tim Samaras, got killed in that one because he got caught in what's called the bear's cage. It's complicated to explain, but it's It's an art for sure. Yep.
Okay. Yeah. Just in case people want to do whatever. And obviously join the Discord where you could see live updates whenever Jeff gets to it for stuff, and probably pick his brain a little bit more there where he can send you links and stuff like that.
Yep. You got a deal of the week for us there, Pierre?
Yes. So we've got some really cool stuff because if ever you need to cook off grid, as we have discussed, and you need a way to start the fire. Intersurplus currently has a flare gun adapter and 100 flares and everything on sale for $2.99 instead of, I think it was three something. I can't remember. I had it open, but yeah, flare gun, 100 flares instead of 360. Sorry. So you save a little bit of money, and you've got at least 100 tries to try and get the fire going. Obviously safely and everything, but practice makes perfect. So let's let us know how you make out.
Excellent. Any shout outs for anybody?
Other than people in the chat, deciding to join us and mentioning a few things and the interactions and everything. Thanks for putting up with the two really cool ones that decided to show up tonight. And I know it was probably like one of the best shows because the other ones weren't around, but we won't tell them that. So thank you.
Sure we will. We don't have any email or iTunes reviews, but if you have one, if you liked the show, plop us a review. So with that, I will bring episode 237 of the Canadian Prepper Podcast to an end. You can find the audio podcast on iTunes, Spotify, or your favorite podcast app. Please submit a review. It encourages the algorithm to promote us and helps other people to find the show.
You can find me off the wall customizing at Gmail or on one of the Tickety Talks or something. I'm sure we're somewhere. Or you can find me Monday nights on YouTube's critiquing the government with the other CPP Canadian Patriot podcast, potentially with other panelists that should have been here tonight.
And we do record these shows live on YouTube and Facebook. So if you want an early peek at the shows, please subscribe to the YouTube channel, Canadian Prepper Podcast, and click the notifications tab. That will give you an alert when we're going live. If you want to contact me, I'm at feedback@prepperpodcast.ca. So thanks for joining us. Until next time, be prepared, stay safe,
and keep learning.